Alright, well, I was trying to get the moon, but the chemical contrails are making that impossible. Anyway, I was in a discussion with one of my family members, my sister, and I try to use analogy or example to get these people to understand what I mean when I say we are systematically dumbed down, because we are. We are. God, my light went out. Anyway, we are programmed since kindergarten to instantaneously believe everything we're told by the programming of believing or trusting our teachers. They're not lying to us. They honestly believe what they were taught is true and are just part of one big vicious circle of nonsense. Now, people don't ever stop and think about the astronomical numbers we are given in distance and size. We are told, for instance, Polaris, the North Pole star, is up to 300 light years away. Now, people instantaneously believe that. They feel that science or scientism has no reason to lie. But they don't take into consideration the funding that they try to procure, that they try to get millions of dollars. Now, I told my sister, listen, do you know how long it would take for 1,000,000,000,000 seconds to go by if you started right now? 1, 2, 3, 4. To get to 1,000,000,000,000, it would take over 30,000 plus years for you to count to 1,000,000,000. So if you could live 40,000 years, it would take you 30,000 of those years, 30,000 plus years of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 101, 102, 1,000,001, 1,000,002. To get all the way to 1,000,000,000,000, it would be 30,000 plus years. Okay? And so I tell them that, and it has some. There's a dent, a little dent put in their armor, their programming. And then I say, do you know how many miles are in just one light year? 5.8, or 6 trillion miles are in one light year. And I tell her, I say, there is no way under heaven that you could see even 1 trillion miles away. Because a second, I can reduce a second to get an example of 1 second with distance. I can match a second up to an inch. Okay, so if I could extend 1,000,000,000,000 inches out in like a ruler material or matter and extend it all the way out towards the horizon till it hit 1,000,000,000, if I could just instantaneously do that, it would take over 30,000 years to bring it back 1 inch at a time. And you could never see 30,000 years in front of you to something that would take 30,000 plus years to come back to you at 1 inch at a time. Now let's compare an inch to 1 mile. Okay, if I extended something out 1 mile, it would be very hard to see. If I did it 1 trillion miles, do you know how long it would take for that to come back 1 inch at a time? You could figure out how many inches are in a mile. And then you'd have to times that times 1 trillion. That would be well over 1,000,000 years for that to come back to you. So what they do is they go to Wikipedia or Google, and Google or Wikipedia or scientism tells them, well, Polaris is so big, that is why we can see it, because it's just so gigantic. And they don't visit logic or entertain logic for not even 1 second, and they'll respond to me and say the reason why we can see 600 trillion miles. I say 600 trillion because I said if Polaris was only 100 light years, not the 300 light years they say, but 100, that would be 100 times 6 trillion. That would be 600 trillion miles away if Polaris was only a third of the distance they tell us. You could never see 600 trillion miles away. But because Wikipedia and Google say that we can see this far because the star Polaris North Pole star is so gigantic, this is why we see it. And if you do a Google or Wikipedia check, they're saying that just about every star in the night sky is many, many, many times bigger than our sun, because they say our sun is a star, and they teach us that the stars we look up at are suns. This is not true. I can look at any star in the sky with a telescope, a good pair of binoculars, or zoom lens, and they appear to be orbs of electromagnetic currents of colorful energy. They are not solid and they are not spherical. But anyway, we are dumbed down to believe we can see 600 trillion miles away because something is so big. If these stars were all as big as they say, we wouldn't have a night sky. The what they call the galaxy or universe would be awash with light. Even worse, they say that these stars are moving, and the sunlight or the starlight we see is from a star that is no longer in that location, that we just see old light. It's moving, it casts light, and that light can continue to shine and travel to us independent of its light source. Now there's only one problem with that. That can't be demonstrated on Earth with any light source. When you shine your flashlight or headlight or whatever light you're using, the light, which is a byproduct of that device you're using, will shine only as far as the available power that device has to cast it. And when you extinguish the flashlight, all the light it casts is immediately extinguished too. It does not continue on in any direction of travel. Okay, that light does not exist unto itself. It is a byproduct of the device, the flashlight, that you are using. Light cannot exist on its own accord. It is a byproduct. You understand? Light that we see from the sun is a byproduct of the sun. Light from a candle is a byproduct of the heat or the fire burning on the candle. And the light from a flashlight is a byproduct of that flashlight. Okay? Light cannot, in any logical manner, in any demonstrable manner, light cannot exist on its own. When you shine a flashlight, the light will travel as far as the power of the device casting it will allow it to travel. And once you extinguish the light, the flashlight, all the light it casts is immediately and simultaneously extinguished. And so we are taught lies that light can travel independent of its source. Like that light there you see there, it's casting light, and it can move 5 feet to the right, and the light that it had previously casted will still continue to travel. We know that's a lie. I can go to the road out there, a pretty level road for about 20 miles, and I can shine a light to someone at the other end of that road. I could shine a light for 10 seconds and turn the light off, and that light will never travel to that other person. Never. Okay? They can't hold a mirror and have it reflected. You can see it from 20 miles away, but you're seeing the light that is in that person's vicinity. That light is in no way in your vicinity, nor did it travel towards you. So the things they tell us that light can do are not demonstratable on the earth. And if it's not demonstratable, it's not real. If something's the truth, it can always be demonstrated, and it doesn't require one theory. So we are taught a lot of lies about light. We are taught a lot of lies about stars, how big they are, what they look like, and how far away they are. I mean, Anybody with an IQ over 100 or even over 99, a half a point higher, 99.5, can realize once you tell someone it would take a trillion seconds to go by starting right now, it would take over 30,000 years. They can begin to understand that we are lied to. You could never look up in the sky, or if I could extend a trillion inches out in front of me towards the horizon, if I was a magician, I could snap my fingers and make a ruler with a trillion inches on it go in front of me. If I started retracting that ruler 1 inch at a time, it would take over 30,000 years for me to get that ruler all the way back to me. Yet you think you could see as 30,000 years worth of distance that it would require to elapse for that to come back to you? You think you could see the other end of that ruler? And that's only a trillion inches. 1 light year, they say, is 5.8 trillion miles, or 6 trillion miles to round it off. We could never see anything in the sky at even 1 trillion miles away. Okay, they say Polaris is 300 light years away, so 300 times 6 trillion. My God, how dumb have we become? It's not that we're dumb, it's just that we instantaneously believe a lot of dumb stuff without realizing how dumb it actually is. I never questioned what I was told by people in white lab coat or my teachers in school. All I tried to do was hear or read it, write it down to preserve it, to memorize, and later regurgitate. Okay, that's how we would see who's the smartest person in the room, by who can regurgitate or recall via memorization what we learned. And the person who could remember the most and regurgitate it, that would be the person that we would consider the smartest person in the room. That is not a facet of intelligence. It proves you have a good memory, but it does not prove you are intelligent. Okay, because when you begin to scrutinize the things you are taught, that's when you got to have 100 red flags, because that's what you're going to face. One red flag after another, things that cannot and in no way be demonstrated per reality on the earth. So they invented a place a couple 100 miles over our head that's too far for us to get to see anything or verify, and they make up these new sets of rules and laws that we can't verify. But when we try to verify it on Earth, it doesn't work out. We can't do it. It can't be done. Everything I said about light can be demonstrated. When you extinguish the light from a spotlight or a flashlight, so too instantaneously is all its light shed. The light does not continue to travel. That is ridiculous. Light in no laboratory anywhere can be shown to exist on its own accord. It is a byproduct mostly of a heat source. And it's the light we look up at the sky that we know are from stars is not old starlight. I had a teacher tell me one time, you know the light you see from a star you're looking at night? That star might not even be there anymore. If you could trace that light back to its origination, the star's not even there anymore, because it's moving due to inflation of the Big Bang Theory. I used to believe that. I used to tell people, hey, do you know that light, that star might not even be there anymore? Oh, there's the moon. It might not be there. It moved, and we're just seeing old light that is traveling to us. So I would say, so you're telling me that star stayed in one spot long enough to shoot that light at us that's going to travel millions of years until we see it? And then what about when it's at the next point? Are we seeing the same star in the sky that shed light a million years here, then a million years there. That's ridiculous. These stars do circuits in the sky. The light would not do that. You understand? Every night, for every day of the year, we see the stars rise and set. They do so the same way, year after year. And it can't be old light. I'm out of time, but we cannot see trillions of miles. Put logic to it. Think for yourself. Don't let Wikipedia and Google and the liars of scientism dictate your reality. Think about what they're telling you, and you'll see that we have been systematically dumbed down to instantaneously believe everything we are told. Memorize and regurgitate it, and be considered a smart person.